The problem is this, that the United States government suffer from the Stockholm syndrome. You know what is the Stockholm syndrome?
Oh yeah, you begin to love your captors.
Exactly, with the banking system. The US government is in a Stockholm syndrome with the banking cartel in the United States. So they don't understand that the terrorists are them. You know, this power is hidden, the power of money creation. They try to hide this power by telling the public that the banks are bankrupt, they need help, we must pay for them. This is only a trick, not to let the people know what an immense power is to create money out of thin air.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I have a very exciting call with Marco Saba from Italy. Marco is the president of the Italian Institute of Superior Studies on Economic and Monetary Sovereignty. He is a freedom fighter, a truth teller, and he is going to school us on the real banking secret, which is the hidden nature of money creation. Marco, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and to speak to the United States citizens.
Well, we're so thrilled to have you. Thanks for taking the time. And I just want to kick this off by saying that so many of us are well aware of the banking problems that are being publicized in Italy. I'm reading articles about Italian banks suffering from 21% underperforming loans. And because Italy is the 8th largest economy in the world, and a member of the EU, it's beholden to the ECB, the European Central Bank. All of this stuff starts to sound very scary as Zero Hedge and others ask the question, will Italy spark the next financial collapse? Marco, what is the true problem here? Let's talk about money creation.
The truth is that if you have not performing loans, you don't lose really, because if you create $100 out of thin air and you lend it out and you get back $80, you have a profit of $80 because those dollars were not borrowed from another entity, because the banks do create money when they lend the money out. But the problem is that this money creation is not accounted for in their books. This is the problem.
This is the problem. And you just spoke before the Swiss central bank, did you not, trying to get them to understand the nature of the problem with the gap accounting? The fraudulent accounting of these banks is at the core of this problem, Marco, because we continue to hear that the Italian banks are failing. It'll bring down the entire EU. They're not being honest about the money creation. The banks are creating these loans out of thin air. And
exactly.
So did your arguments fall on deaf ears at the SNB?
Yes, it is not easy to. I also was at the shareholder meeting of the Swiss National Bank, because they created 600 billion of Swiss francs and not accounted for in their balance, in their financial statement. So I told them that this money must be accounted for. But it seems like you speak to stones. They really don't care. We have the video of my speech at the Swiss Central Bank, and this video is published on their website, the website of the Swiss National Bank, in French, Italian, and German. But until now, I was Friday. I was there. Until now, there is not a single paper or media that has taken this this new. So all is hidden.
Hidden in plain sight, right? Because once you
hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
Yes,
once
right.
you know the truth about how money creation works, right? Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws, as Mayor Rothschild once said. These guys create the money out of thin air. So when we hear that the Italian banks are failing because 20% of the loans are underperforming, it doesn't take into account that 100% of the loans were created out of thin air. They didn't take the money out of the bank vault, Marco, as you well know. They created it out of thin air, and then they play this accounting ruse, this accounting gimmick, this accounting fraud of saying now we're failing because 20% of the money we created out of thin air isn't coming back to us. Well, what about the 80% that is coming back to them that they created out of nothing?
Yes.
It's just disgusting. But they're using that tool to enslave humanity, aren't they? We saw what they did to Greece with IMF austerity. They want to do it to Italy. They're going to roll it out globally, Marco. Unless we stop them, they're going to enslave humanity.
Yes. Well, I think they want to rule with this secret power, cornering democracy, cornering parliaments, cornering the Congress, and this is the real power. This is above the industrial complex, the military industrial complex. This is above. It is the apex of the power.
It's the apex of the power. It's the top of the pyramid. It is the shadow government. The bankers are the shadow government.
This is the shadow government. The problem is the same in all the Western hemisphere. We all know now that banks can create money, but what we don't know as a public at large is that the accounting system is flawed. I mean that when the banks do create money, they don't put this new money in their cash flow statement, and so you don't see this money in the bank account, but you see as if they do like if they overdraft on themselves this money. They overdraft. I mean, they record the expenses, but they don't record the money creation as an asset in their balance. Because when you create money for yourself, you're creating an asset. So if the banks don't record properly in their accounting the process of money creation, you have bankruptcy that are not real bankruptcy, but they are only accounting bankruptcy. Because when you can create all the money you need, you can never go underwater. Obviously, obviously. So this is all a scam, a big scam against the public, because the public is not aware of the accounting rules, and so the public believe that the public believe that they have give the power. This is a sovereign power, the sovereign power to create money to corporation, and this corporation and those corporations are not able to make profits with this big power, and this is very crazy. Because when you can create money, you can never go bankrupt. And this is also what is said on a paper from the European Central Bank that was published a few days ago, that the central banks can never go bankrupt because of their power to create money. And this is not only the central banks, but also the commercial banks that they create digital money, electronic money. Every time you take a loan, they create money in your deposit account. But the problem is that before flowing this money in your deposit account, the bank has to record it in their cash account. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, we do. And, it's well known that the central banks can increase credit or decrease credit on a whim, thereby getting an economy to flourish or choking off an economy. And these central banks are completely unbeholden, unanswerable to anyone. Perhaps only to the Rothschilds are they answerable.
Yes, yes.
And this is this is the problem. The problem of money creation is that the credit machine benefits the 1%, not the people at large, not the public at large.
Yes, but the mechanism that we were able to discover is that the accounting is flawed. the accounting of money creation is not right under the general accounting accepted principle, or under the European international accounting rules. It is flawed. Is not correct. I mean that the company that do the auditing of the banks, there is Ernst Young, Price Waterhouse, KPMG, and Price Waterhouse. Those companies, Deloitte also, Deloitte is another company. They do certify the balance of the banks, the financial statement, but this is not correct because the financial statements of banks is corrupt, and this is why the banks look like they need the money while they are the factories of money. They are the machine that create money. So this flow is very bad because in Europe those banks that seems like failing want to get help from government, from the people, from the shareholder, from the clients of the banks, but they really don't need this. What the European banks need is to properly account for money creation in their financial statement. This is only the only thing they need. I try to explain in a simple way. If you create new money, you create $100 and you lend $100 to a client, and if the client give you back $90, you have not lose $10, but you have gained $90 because those dollars were created out of thin air. You understand? And this mechanism of money creation without accounting for is sort of that when the banks don't account properly for money creation, they are doing money laundering. They are creating phantom money, and then they are laundering this money by lending, by buying assets like real estate, and also the central banks, when they buy futures on gold and silver, and they bet on a low price, they do those bets, and they lose those bets every time because they make futures on lower price, but they happen to lose very much money. But the scope of this is not to gain money, but is to lower the price of gold and silver. So the central banks can lose bet on futures on gold and silver because they don't care about money, because they can create money out of thin air. So their scope is not to gain money. It is the manipulation of the market. The manipulation of the market of gold and of silver and precious metal and almost everything, also oil, etc. They don't have the same rules we have when investing. Their scope, I don't know how to say scope. Their intention is to manipulate the market. And you have a lot of insider trading that can profit from these central bank policies. Obviously, if you are in the knowledge of this practice, you can gain profits from speculating on it. So there is a very big problem of oversight of the banking cartel. Now you see also in the United States, but also in Italy, in Europe, you don't have bankers going to jail. You have only bankers that are fined. They get fined.
Yep, that's right.
But But how you think you can find somebody that can create money out of thin air? This is ridiculous, you know?
You know, with Italy
Mm.
being part of the ECB, I think the only real solution, and maybe there's growing support for it in Italy, is that Italy ought to break away from the European Union and do what
Mm.
John F. Kennedy did, reissue its
Yes,
own currency from its
yes.
own bank, free of debt and free from the enslavement of these international bankers.
Yes, and to be free of debt, it means to use the right accounting principle to account for money creation. If you account for money creation as an asset for the institution creating the money, then you don't have the problem of bankruptcy and as we have explained before also in lending. So we must bring the accounting factor more near to the reality of banking business. You understand? There is banking business go in one way. I mean, the banking business is to create money and to do whatever you like with the money you create, lending, buying assets, buying politicians, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. But the accounting reality is different. In the accounting, they make seems that it is an accounting done like if they don't create new money. They do the accounting, they do the financial statement like if they are using the depositor money, which they never do, obviously.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And fractional reserve banking is at the core of this problem because when you go into one of these major banks, Wells Fargo, etc., and you borrow $30,000 to buy a brand new car, they don't pull that $30,000 out of the bank vault. They're not at risk of losing actual money. They write the $30,000 loan into existence. And if you default on the car after paying only $4,000 for it because you lose your job, they write the loan off and they repossess the car. The bank didn't lose $30,000. The bank created $30,000 out of nothing. But because
Yes,
people don't understand money creation by these big banks and the central banks in particular, Marco, the people
yes,
can be easily fooled into believing that the banks are all in trouble. The banks are in trouble because
yes,
because of the
yes,
non-performing loans. Well, the non-performing loans in Italy being at 20%, that's 20% of 100% of money creation. That's 20% of money that was created out of thin air by these criminal banks. So,
yes.
but they're going to bring down your entire country over it.
Yes, yes, yes. This is completely absurd. This has nothing to do with the reality of banking. This is only a mean to enslave the people and to force the politician to do what the bank agenda. I think it's a agenda. I don't know.
Agenda, that's right. It's the agenda to enslave humanity. We talk about it all the time at sgtreport.com. We talk about it unceasingly because at the very top of the pyramid are the banking cartel families, which I mentioned previously, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Warburgs. These are the people that created the Federal Reserve in this country in 1913, and these are the people that control the European Central Bank, under
Yes.
which you people are enslaved.
Yes, so they are currently they are cornering democracy every day, cornering democracy because with this power unaccounted for, they can do really whatever they think to do, and there is a problem also for foreign policy. Foreign policy of the United States is like to make all the countries around the world enslaved to the same system. This is the foreign policy of the United States now. You know,
Yeah.
to get the whole world enslaved by the same cartel of bankers. And this is why the United States must pay very much money to make wars. Because when you do an unjust war, you are doomed to lose. You are doomed to lose. and especially the policy to use uranium in the weapons, uranium, depleted uranium in weapons.
Right.
And this is also a very stupid thing because you have many veterans that are now affected from the use of depleted uranium. United States veterans, Italian veterans, and most of these veterans are from a special force, and they are afflicted by cancer and they die young. It's very stupid, all of this. And I think the United States, but also Europe, must do a war against this corrupt system. This is very, very much important because if we don't correct ourselves in time, it will be a bloodshed, and you can call the people like Gaddafi and Saddam. You can call them terrorists. But if the people discover that the real terrorists are in their country, it will be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So we must correct this corruption before it's too late, because the world banking business is based on faith, no, and also the political business is faith, and also the religious system is based on faith. But when your faith is wrong, I mean, when the fate is to enslave all the people on a corrupt banking cartel system, then nobody will have more faith in the system. I mean, this our Western system. The people don't have faith. They see that the American dream is not true because they see that the mechanism is to give money to the 1% of the people while 99% are poor and getting poorer. The people see this. So I think it is a sort of change of paradigm that must be done very quickly before it is too late.
Yeah, there needs to be a paradigm shift back
Yes,
towards
paradigm
a
shift. Yes,
paradigm shift. You're right, and the whole system's built on faith, but the whole system's also built on this illusion
illusion.
of honest banking, because money creation and usury is inherently dishonest. It all makes sense now as we take a look at what they're doing to Italy, what they've done to Greece, and what they intend to do to the rest of the world. And you're absolutely right, Marco. There needs to be a paradigm shift. I think it's happening. People are waking up. The problem is this octopus that has its tentacles wrapped around the whole globe is so all-encompassing and so big. Even if you cut off one of the arms, even if you cut off the central bank in the United States, they still control all the central banks around the world, with the exception of maybe a few, like what, Iran and I think Syria.
Yes, I think you must make accountable the Federal Reserve, and I think this accounting principle of the new created money it must be taken into account, and maybe the Congress can ask for an audit, not only about monetary policies. Monetary policies is after money creation, but the Congress should ask for an inquiry in the accounting method for the money created, the electronic money created by the Federal Reserve and the entire banking system. This is what must be done: an external audit of the Federal Reserve, independent audit of the accounting methods of the Federal Reserve. This is the key, And this is the case. This case can be bipartisan because this is not Republican or Democrats. This is about the accounting principles, and the accounting, the honest accounting is needed to make people accountable of their actions. This was the meaning of accounting, to balance the books. If the books are crooked, then the rules are not fair. Um, Obviously,
Right.
I suggest to approach. Al Capone was put in jail for tax evasion.
That's right. They got him on a technicality.
And so the same way the entire banking system can be put in jail for tax evasion, because by not accounting for the assets and the profits they make from money creation, they are evading taxes.
Yeah.
In fact, now they are a big tax evasion in the banking cartel, if we understand this money creation system. So I suggest that the agencies of the United States try to look in this problem of accounting of money creation. Then you will discover that the tax even, for example, the biggest tax haven in the world is Delaware, is not Panama,
Hmm.
In Delaware you have more than 2 million companies registered in the Delaware, but they put out only the Panama, Panama papers.
Right.
We need to see the Delaware papers now, where you will find all the people that take profit from this shadow money creation, unaccounted for in the bank balances.
Hmm.
So this is all is connected: foreign policy, tax evasion, and accounting mismanagement, and all is connected to this power. This power is hidden, the power of money creation. They try to hide this power by telling the public that the banks are bankrupt, they need help, we must pay for them. This is only a trick, it's sort of comedy, not to let the people know what an immense power is to create money out of thin air, which is absolutely logical. If you think about it 1 minute, it's logical. What is the first thing you do after you create money of thin air? You buy all the people that you can buy.
That's right. Yeah, they bought up the whole world at this point, Marco. I mean, they bought
Exactly,
up all the
exactly.
politicians. They bought up the military-industrial complex of the Pentagon. That's why
Yes,
all this
yes.
nation does at this point is wage war. I think we're the chief exporter of war on planet
Hmm.
Earth. And you're right. We need an external audit of the Federal Reserve, but we also could use an external audit of Fort Knox. It might surprise you to know that Fort Knox hasn't been audited of its gold since
Yes,
1954, I believe, 1956 or
yes.
54.
Yes, I know this issue, but if you want to end the manipulation in the gold market, in the silver market, in the stock market, in the political market, if you want to end this manipulation, you must make the banks accountable for money creation power.
Yeah.
This is the only way to put under control their power, because if you let the real profits come out from a bank balance, then you can tax this the profits, and then you can save the United States also. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I know that in North Dakota, there is the Bank of North Dakota. Is the only public bank in the United States, and they are doing very well,
That's right. Yep.
because but this is this is a shortcut. I can tell to you, okay, put a public bank in every state of the United States, and then you can balance the budget of the state. Okay, but this is not enough now. I think it's not enough, because you must end the unaccounted for big power of money creation. This is the only hope. The Congress should inquiry in the accounting of money creation. This is their atomic nuclear bomb against the cartel of corrupt bankers and can solve all the problems. I hope that the movement Occupy.
Hmm.
I hope that they try to lobby the Congress to do an external audit of the accounting practice at the Federal Reserve and also the big banks in the United States.
Well,
This should be very good effort.
yeah, I wish that would happen, but unfortunately, the Occupy movement really was not a centralized movement with any sort of infrastructure that would allow it to move forward in that way politically. And the other problem is that the politicians in this country, with the exception of a precious few, Marco, are bought and paid for in the pockets of the big banks. You need look no further than the presidential election with clowns like Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton, an uber criminal, running for president, and the media, which is also bought and paid for in this country, supporting them really with a straight face,
Mm.
claiming that they're great candidates.
But maybe Bernie Sanders can be sensible
Yeah,
to what
Bernie Sanders doesn't really get to the core of the money creation, though, that we've talked about here. He does talk about the criminality of the banks, and he talks about bankers needing to go to jail, and he talks about, I
Yes,
think he's even mentioned needing to return to Glass-Steagall accounting
it's
practices, which
not
is
enough.
great.
Glass-Steagall is not enough
And it's not
because
enough. And, and I would just want to say this as I sum up here. I want to say that, are you familiar with Bill Still's work? Have you ever seen the movie The Money Masters?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Bill Still has woken up a lot of people, and I just had an interview with him a couple of weeks back, and it was a rather bombastic interview in some parts because he's so passionate about this idea of money creation and about the idea of taking the ability to create money back from the banks. And now I see his argument even more clearly after this interview, because just to tie down these banks to a gold standard at this point without destroying their ability to create money out of thin air, without destroying their ability to enslave us through money creation, a gold standard won't do it. A gold standard will not be enough because the criminal
No,
banks
no, no.
control the paradigm.
Look. If you make them accountable for the money creation, and for example, you tax this money creation, maybe 90% or 100%, it is the same as if the money is issued by the treasury.
Right.
This is so. The idea is that when you issue fiat money, I mean electronic money, you don't have real expenses for creating this money, but you have a huge gain, and this huge gain must not stand hidden into the banking system. It must be reversed to the treasury of the United States.
Right. Well,
This is the point.
yeah, and
Well,
this is common sense. But do you know what? The last time that happened in this nation was in the '60s under John F. Kennedy, when I think Kennedy issued debt-free money, and it wasn't long
yes.
after that they killed him.
Yes, but this is different. Yes, the one solution is to issue the greenbacks, like Abraham Lincoln.
Hmm.
Yes, this is a possibility, but you must have a very strong government to do this. And the people who do this, now you have only China. China do this. China do have a sovereign monetary system. North Korea and also Libya had a sovereign monetary system, and also Iraq had a monetary system. Now Iran have a sovereign monetary system, and you see those countries are targeted as rogue nation
Hmm.
because they don't submit themselves to the banking cartel. This is why they are rogues. You understand?
I do
So,
understand. And do you know that one
so
of the most Orwellian statements ever made by a sitting president in this nation is after 9/11, when George Bush said, "You are either with us or you are with the terrorists. Because after one begins to understand that 9/11 was a false flag operation, and these same criminal powers that we've talked about in this interview are the powers that know exactly what happened and were probably behind the attacks that happened that day. When you understand that and you hear him say you are either with us or you're with the terrorists, you realize that it's one and the same, because they are the
Yes,
terrorists.
if
The
you are
government
with
is
us,
the
you are
terrorist.
with the terrorist. This is the true thing. So the problem is this, that the United States government suffer from the Stockholm syndrome. You know what is the Stockholm
Oh,
syndrome?
yeah, you begin to love your captors.
Exactly, with the banking system. The US government is in a Stockholm syndrome with the banking cartel in the United States. So they don't understand that the terrorists are them and not the people that resist to this tyranny of bankers
Yeah.
unaccounted for. So the only solution, the sweet, the soft solution is to have the bankers being audited for the power of money creation, and to investigate how their balance sheet, how their financial statement are completely wrong
Yep.
on about money creation. And this you can do it. It's like Al Capone tax evasion. It's the same system. You need the Security and the Exchange Commission. You need the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You need the IRS investigate the money creation, how it is recorded in the books of the banks.
Yep.
If you have the FBI, the IRS, and the Security and Exchange Commission, and the Treasury, also Treasury Department, investigate this matter, they will find what we have found here in Italy, that the accounting process is corrupt, and that the banks must rectify their balance sheet. And so you in this way we will have all the gain, the profit come out, and the United States can profit. They can tax this huge profits of money creation, and then they can lower the public debt. The debt of the United States can be lowered with the income coming from taxing the money creation power.
Right.
So
But
this is
here's the problem, and I was nodding when you were saying that here's what needs to happen. The problem in this country, and it's the problem I think probably all over the world at this point, is that in this country the Department of Justice, the SEC, the IRS, which was created right around the time the Federal Reserve was and is the collection arm of the Federal Reserve, and the FBI are all hopelessly intertwined and in the control of the banks. We know, for instance, the DOJ in particular will not prosecute Goldman Sachs bankers for the crimes that led us into the 2008 crisis. And we know that Goldman Sachs worked with Department of Justice representatives to create language that really prevented the banks from being brought down. And so what you've described, unfortunately, is never going to happen. We may as well wish for Santa Claus to bring us shiny new toys on Christmas Day, because in this country the rule of law is dead.
yes, but we must try to build again the rule of law. I think there is a possibility, because currently in Europe they want to give to the central bank the power to issue all the electronic money. By deprivating the commercial banks of this power, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they are doing this. There is an international movement in Europe called positive money, that is asking for centralization of power to the central bank of creating electronic money. Now, parallel to this movement, I am advocating for correct accounting for money creation. So this is sort of in the same line of this shift that they are doing this. Also in the United States, I expect that the Federal Reserve will advocate the power to create digital electronic money for her. I think also the Federal Reserve will do this, but in the same time, we must ask that they should account properly for money creation, and I think that they will do, because now there is a great speech about helicopter money.
Hmm.
They say, we need helicopter money to save the economy, but they don't know how to do this helicopter money. They are looking for a soft way to do helicopter money. And I think that the most soft way is to tax money creation and get the profit to the treasury through the IRS. So IRS must do a big inquiry in this thing, and the Treasury should help, because I think now the banking cartel really is looking for viable ways of doing helicopter money. And this way, I think this system, it can be aligned with their wishes. It is my opinion. Maybe I am dreaming, but
Hmm.
anyway, the problem is now on the internet. All the people now are speaking about money creation out of thin air, and why there is debt money. It is not debt money. It is money unaccounted for at the time of creation as an asset for the bank. It is not debt money. It is mismanagement of the accounting of the money creation. It's very easy. I think this is a shortcut to try to solve this problem. Really, I
Hmm.
think it is. I don't know if you if I have explained very well this matter, but I think. Do you understand?
Well, I think helicopter money brings visions of hyperinflation. And I think at this point, we talk about this a lot at SGT Report, all of the easy answers have been exhausted. I mean, aside from a debt jubilee, a global debt jubilee,
Yeah.
it's hard to think of any answers to the problems at this point because the central banks have really bought up and control everything, like we said, including the politicians, Marco. And,
Yeah.
a debt jubilee appears to be the only answer because helicopter money, I think, will only bring global hyperinflation.
Well, it is not really so, because it is not really so. This is what the bankers say, that if you create money for yourself, you are creating big inflation. But if you create money for the bankers, you don't create inflation. This is their.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point, actually. They can create all the money they want out of thin air, and everything seems to be fine. It's when the
Yes,
people get it that they start to worry.
this helicopter money that you can get by taxing money creation power is similar to the jubilee, debt jubilee. Because how do you have a debt jubilee? Jubilee, you can do two ways. One way, nobody pay back the debts. Okay. The other way, you give the money to the people to pay the debts. It's also a jubilee,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
is the same thing. Or you pay the debt because you provide the people with money to pay the debt, or you don't pay the debt. Yes, this is the only two things that can happen now. But I mean, the idea of taxing the power of money creation is more viable than stopping paying debt, for the framework of the Orwellian reality that we are living in right now. I mean, but anyway, the two solutions are good. Are all good, the two solutions, but the idea of taxing money power is better viable for explaining to the people
Yeah.
why we must distribute this money to them. It is easier to understand. than simply stop paying debts. It's but it is because you can do the right thing, but you must dress this right thing in a fashion that the people understand that it's a right thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Well,
think the debt jubilee is something too radical to pass right now. You understand?
yeah, perhaps, although they did it, I think, every 50 years in the Roman Empire. But, the bottom line here is that, Marco, you've really helped me, and I think the audience, see and interpret the news in a different way because, again, with the Italian banks experiencing somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% underperforming loans, it is very curious to imagine yourself having the power of money creation and loaning
Exactly.
out to 10 neighbors $10,000 each. Now, you've created the money out of thin air and you've loaned 10 neighbors $10,000. So you've created $100,000 out of thin air. It did not come out of the bank vault. And when two of those neighbors are unable to pay you back, did you really lose 20,000? Because the other 80,000, those people are still going to pay you back. The money was created out of thin air, and at the source of our problems is the money creation and the fraudulent accounting of these international criminal banks and central banks.
Exactly, it's the fragile accounting because if you have a power and your power is accountable, then it's not unlimited power. But if you have an hidden power and you are not accountable for this power, it's logical that you go in excess normally because you are not audited for your power. And in a democracy, you need to be audited for the powers because the power must not be hidden. This is really the banking secret. The real banking secret is this, that they don't account properly for money creation. This is the real big secret behind the banking business. It was a secret. Now it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah, thanks to guys like you and Bill Still and so many others that have been sounding the alarm. Marco, I really want to thank you for your time. Guys, our guest has been Marco Saba. He's the president of the Italian Institute of Superior Studies on Economic and Monetary Sovereignty, a truth teller fighting for the people of Italy and really fighting for humanity at large. Marco, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, goodbye.
Take care. And guys, thank you for your support at sgtreport.com. Real news 24/7. God bless.